I didn't touch it, I said, barely above a whisper, but it didn't matter. My father's eyes had already hardened like stone. My mother stared at the marble floor, fingers nervously gripping her dupatta, and Meher stood by the bookshelf, her lips trembling just enough to appear innocent, a single tear rolling down her cheek like she had practiced it. Again. I felt like I had stepped into a time loop, a cruel, inescapable loop, where Meher was always the victim, and I was always the mistake. You were the only one near Nana Abu's safe, my father said, his voice steady, cold. The original copy of the will is missing. Coincidence? It wasn't me, I replied, firmer this time. Meher sniffled. I don't want to believe she'd do it, Abu, she whispered. But, after last time, those words were a blade. A wound I thought had healed reopened in an instant. The memory came crashing back 4 years ago. Meher told everyone I had leaked her medical records online after she failed her entrance exam. It wasn't true, but she'd cried, and I was disowned for a year. I clenched my fists. I didn't even know there was a will in that safe, I said, turning toward my father. Ask the maid. Ask the lawyer. Ask anyone. Just don't ask Meher. Enough. My father's voice cracked like thunder. He looked at me with that same emptiness he used the day I left home at 18. You're not welcome in this house until you decide to stop lying. The irony scorched through me. All I'd ever done was tell the truth, and that was the one thing no one ever wanted to hear. I walked out of the room without another word. There was no point. Outside the air was thick. Karachi's humidity pressed against my skin like guilt. I stood at the gate, suitcase in hand, barely holding it together. Zoya's voice rang through the phone. They did it again? I let out a bitter laugh. Did you really expect anything different? Where are you going now? Shireen Kala's. She told me I could crash there for a few days. There was silence on the other end, then her voice returned, softer. You want me to come over? I wanted to say yes, but instead I said, no, not yet. I need time to think. Shireen Kala lived in a quiet part of Defense. Her home smelled like cinnamon and old books. She was my mother's younger sister, the only one in our family who hadn't treated Meher like the second coming of royalty. You don't have to explain, she said as she handed me a warm cup of chai. I know how your sister works. I looked at her, surprised. You do? She smiled, a tired, knowing smile. I've been watching her since she was 10. She always cried louder when she was guilty. That night I sat on the guest bed and stared at the ceiling, my chest tight with memories. It was happening again, and I wasn't going to let her win this time. 2 days later, something strange happened. I found an old phone in my purse. It wasn't mine. It was Meher's old backup phone. She must have slipped it in my bag by mistake while pretending to help me pack. Curious, I powered it on. No password. It booted up slow, but once the screen lit, I tapped through the gallery, mostly selfies and dog-ear filter photos. I was about to toss it aside when I saw a file named enote_confession_3am. I hesitated, then hit play. I know she's going to find it. Meher's voice echoed from the speaker, but Tariq said he'll back me up. Once the will is gone, it's just my word against hers. I froze. She's too soft, Meher continued. She'll probably cry and run again, like she always does. Pathetic. The audio ended. For a second I forgot how to breathe. She really did it. She took the will, she planted the blame, and she had help. I didn't send the recording to anyone. Not yet. Instead I backed it up, then stared at the ceiling fan above me. Meher thought I'd run. But I wasn't running anymore. I was going to watch her crumble. The next day I visited my grandfather's grave. The sky was gray, the wind still, the marble headstone read, "Justice may sleep, but it always wakes." He had said that to me once when I cried to him after Meher's last betrayal. He never said it out loud to my parents. He never defended me publicly, but he believed me. I could feel it. "I'll make her pay, Nana Abu," I whispered, pressing my hand to the cold stone. Not with screams, not with war, but with silence. That night I returned home. Meher opened the door herself, her face a mask of fake concern. "You? What are you doing here?" I smiled. "Dinner. Didn't Abu tell you?" Her eyes narrowed. "He said you were banned." Apparently he changed his mind, I said casually, walking past her. She followed me into the dining room, where my father was already seated. My mother stood by the table, tense. "I want this family to eat together tonight," he said. I sat across from Mihir, our eyes meeting for a moment too long. Let the games begin. Over biryani and forced small talk, I played the part of the good daughter, polite, quiet, unbothered. So, I said, sipping my water, has Tariq been around lately? Mihir flinched. He's been busy with work. I tilted my head. Strange. Zoya said she saw him at the club with Sana. She blinked, then smiled. You know Zoya loves drama. I nodded. True. But so do voice notes. She choked on her water. My father looked up. What did you say? Nothing, I said sweetly. Just that everyone seems to be recording everything these days. Makes you wonder what secrets people are keeping. There was silence. The room was beginning to shift. Later that night, Mihir cornered me in the hallway. What do you think you're doing? She hissed. I don't know what you mean, I replied innocently. Don't play games with me. You think anyone will believe you? I leaned in. You're right, no one believed me before. But now, I don't need belief. I have truth. She stepped back. Delete whatever you have. I smiled. Why are you so nervous, Mihir? Did you say something you regret? Her eyes widened. She opened her mouth to say something, then closed it. For the first time in years, she was scared, and I was calm. That night I laid in bed, the audio file playing on loop in my ears. I didn't know how or when I'd expose her, but I knew one thing. This time I wasn't alone. This time, they would see her. And when they did, they'd finally see me too. You should have sent it to him. Zoya's voice crackled through the call. I was pacing the balcony of Shireen Kala's house, gripping my phone so tightly my knuckles had turned white. Not yet, I said. You're still scared. No, I'm not scared. I'm waiting. For what? For her to dig the grave a little deeper. There was silence on the other end, then a sigh. Okay, just don't wait too long. She's not the kind of person who gives second chances. She destroys people in one go. The next morning, the sky was cloudy again. Karachi's monsoon had a strange way of matching my mood. Dark, humid, waiting to burst. Shireen Kala knocked on my door. You've been quiet. I nodded. She walked in and sat beside me. I spoke to your mother. I turned sharply. You what? Just to ask how she's doing. And she's not well. Not physically. Emotionally. Your father's not speaking to her properly either. There's tension in that house. I scoffed. Welcome to my childhood. I know, she said softly. But I think things are shifting. I didn't believe her. Not yet, but something was shifting. 2 days later I got a call. From my mother. Come home, she said. I almost dropped the phone. You're calling me back. Your father wants to talk. Why? There was a pause. He's asking questions. The drive back home was short, but my thoughts were loud. What did he know? Had the lawyer called him? Had someone found the phone? When I stepped through the gate, my stomach twisted. The house looked the same, but it felt different. Tense. Quiet. I walked inside. Mihir was standing in the hallway, her arms crossed. She didn't look surprised, just annoyed. Back so soon, she said. I didn't reply. My father called out from the living room. Come in. He sat stiffly, the family lawyer Mr. Hamid, beside him. I want you to listen, my father said. He picked up a remote and pressed play. My heart skipped a beat. Was it the recording? But instead it was a CCTV clip. From the garden entrance. Mihir, slipping out of Nana Abu's study late at night. Date stamp. 2 days before the will disappeared. My father looked at me. I had this footage recovered. I didn't tell anyone. I stayed still. He sighed. I don't know what to believe anymore. Then believe what you see, I said quietly. He stared at the paused frame for a long moment, then turned to Mr. Hamid. I want the backup will, the lawyer version. Mr. Hamid nodded. It'll take a day or two, but I'll bring it. My father's eyes didn't leave the screen. She framed you again, didn't she? I didn't reply, but I didn't have to. Later that evening I sat in the kitchen alone. My mother walked in slowly. She didn't say anything at first, just stood near the sink, washing her hands over and over like she was trying to scrub away guilt. I didn't know, she finally whispered. I swear to you, Beta. I didn't know. I looked up. Her eyes were puffy, exhausted, ashamed. I wanted to believe her because she looked so broken. She said, but I forgot. You always broke silently. I blinked. It's okay, Amy. No. It's not. She walked over, took my hand. I don't deserve your forgiveness. I didn't say she did, but I didn't pull my hand away. That night, her stormed into my room. What the hell are you doing? Sleeping. She slammed the door shut. He's turning against me. Maybe you shouldn't have lied. I had to lie, she snapped. You were always the favorite, just because you were quiet and clever and good at pretending to be innocent. I sat up. You really believe that? I know that. I laughed. Bitter and cold. Her. I was never the favorite. I was invisible. You were the sun, and I was your shadow. She flinched. Then why do you always win? She whispered. Because I stopped needing their love. She stared at me, eyes full of rage, and something close to fear. The next morning, my father called for a family meeting. I nearly laughed at how formal it sounded. We sat in the living room. Her, my mother and him. Tension sat between us like a guest no one invited. The will is being reissued, he said. Mr. Hamid is confirming a few things. Her stiffened. I want to talk about what happens next, my father continued. This family cannot survive on secrets anymore. Then let's talk about them, I said. Her glared. Don't. I leaned forward. Let's talk about what really happened the night Nana Abu died. My father's face changed. What are you saying? Her stood up. She's lying again. No, I said. I saw the texts, the emails. You and Tariq. You were afraid Nana Abu would give me something. That's why you took it. My mother gasped. You said you didn't care about money, I continued. But you cared about being the only one seen. My father stood up. Enough. But it wasn't him I was talking to anymore. It was her. Her. My sister. The girl who wore my skin like a costume, always trying to become the version of me that people pitied. She didn't cry this time. She didn't scream. She just left the room. And for the first time, no one followed her. That night, I sat alone in the garden. My mother came out with a cup of tea. She sat beside me, quiet. Do you think she'll ever say sorry? I asked. She looked at the stars. Maybe not, but she'll know she lost, and somehow that was enough. Not revenge, not power, just truth. And this time I wasn't the only one holding it. I never thought justice would feel so quiet. There was no applause, no dramatic confrontation, no one falling to their knees in guilt, just silence, stillness, and a strange hollow ache in my chest. I was winning, but why did it still feel like I was losing something? The morning after the meeting I sat on the rooftop terrace, staring at the old family swing. The one Her and I used to fight over as kids. Back then it was just a game. Now, everything was war. My phone buzzed. Zoya, did you check the phone again? The gallery folder. There's something new. I hadn't. I had barely touched the phone since I backed up the confession. I pulled it from my drawer and opened it again, navigating to the folder marked private. There were screenshots this time. Emails between Tariq and Her. Subject. The will. You promised you'd take care of it. I deleted it. I told you she wouldn't have the guts to fight back. Stop worrying. And another. Subject. Our plan. If she finds out she won't be able to prove anything. She doesn't have the guts to go public. She's a coward. I stared at the screen until my fingers went numb. So they thought I was weak. Predictable. Spineless. Funny how people mistake silence for surrender. That evening, I called Tariq. He didn't pick up. I texted him. You and Her make a good team. Cowardice really binds people together. Huh. 3 dots appeared. Then disappeared. I smiled. Let the panic begin. At dinner my father barely spoke. My mother looked between me and Her as if waiting for the sky to fall. Her for once was quiet. Until my father cleared his throat. The lawyer is coming again tomorrow. He wants to speak to both of you privately. Her choked on her water. Why? To confirm a few legal details. Her hand trembled slightly. I said nothing, just watched. She was starting to crack, and I was just getting started. Later that night, Her burst into my room. Why are you doing this to me? I didn't even flinch. You did it to yourself. She slammed the door behind her. You think you're better than me now? I don't think I'm better. I said, standing up. I just know I'm not you. She looked furious. I didn't mean for it to go this far. Oh really? I scoffed. So you didn't mean to erase a man's last wish. You didn't mean to rob your own sister. You always had everything. The sympathy, the brains, the quiet charm everyone falls for. And you always had the spotlight. I shot back. But it was never enough, was it? She turned away, silent. I stepped closer. Why me her? Why did you really do it? She didn't speak for a long moment. When she finally did, her voice was a whisper. Because he left you more than he left me. And I knew the day that will came out, they'd finally see you. She left after that. No threats, no curses. Just silence. And that more than anything told me she was unraveling. The next day Mr. Hamid arrived. He spoke with my father first, then asked to see me alone in the study. You look steadier than last time I saw you, he said as I sat down. I gave a soft laugh. That's what truth does to a person. He nodded, opening a folder. We recovered the original will, or at least a backup. It's been verified. Your grandfather left you a significant portion of his land in Hyderabad. And a note. My heart skipped. A note. He handed it over gently. It was in Nana Abu's handwriting. To the child who was always silent, but never weak. I saw more in your silence than the world did in noise. You are my legacy, because you never asked for anything, yet deserved it all. Tears welled in my eyes. Mr. Hamid waited quietly as I read it again, and again. I swallowed hard. He knew. I whispered. Yes. He did. That evening the final will was read aloud in front of the family. My father's hands trembled slightly as he held it. And to my granddaughter, the one whose heart I trusted most, I leave my land in Hyderabad and the family estate records, for she will know what to do when the time is right. He looked up at me her. She stared at the wall. Any objections? Mr. Hamid asked. No one spoke. And for the first time, I felt seen. Me her didn't cry that night. She didn't scream. She just faded, as if someone had flipped a switch inside her. Later I found her sitting by the window in our shared room. You won, she said quietly. It wasn't a game. She turned to me, her voice brittle. I didn't think you'd fight back. That's what makes it so satisfying. I said. You never saw me. Not really. And now? Everyone does. She didn't respond. And I didn't wait for her to. Zoya came over the next day. We sat in the back garden, sipping lemonade. I still can't believe you had all that dirt on her, she grinned. Where did that calm come from? I shrugged. I just got tired of being the victim. You know what the wildest part is? She said, leaning in. What? Even now she probably still thinks she's the one who lost everything because of you. I looked out at the sun-drenched lawn. She lost everything because she tried to be me without having the heart for it. That night, I wrote a letter to Nana Abu. I didn't know if letters to the dead ever reached them, but I needed to write it anyway. You were the only one who never asked me to prove myself. You knew the difference between silence and weakness. Thank you for seeing me. Thank you for trusting me. I promise, I'll honor everything you gave me, by never becoming like them. I'll lead quietly, just like you did. Love, the girl who always listened, and finally spoke. I want all of us at the table tonight. My father's voice was firm, final. Dinner had become a formality in our house, people eating at different times, avoiding eye contact like it would burn. But tonight, he wanted us seated, together, like a real family, as if we'd ever been one. I nodded without a word. Me her didn't. She folded her arms, standing in the doorway like a shadow refusing to fade. I have a migraine. Then take a pill, he replied. Be at the table by 8. At 8 o'clock sharp, we sat beneath the golden chandelier, silver trays arranged with perfection, plates too polished for the tension in the air. I could hear the hum of the ceiling fan, the clink of spoons. Every sound was louder than our silence. Meher sat to my left. Her fork moved, but her food remained untouched. My mother sat opposite her, glancing nervously between us. My father sat at the head, watching like a judge who'd already delivered the verdict but hadn't announced it yet. I broke the silence first. Tariq's not joining us? Meher's eyes flicked up, just for a second. He's busy. With Sana? I asked casually. The fork in her hand trembled. She set it down too quickly. What are you talking about? She snapped. I just heard they were seen together. That's all. My mother shot me a warning look. My father leaned back in his chair, observing. Always observing. Her forced a smile. Zoya needs better sources. I returned the smile. Maybe she's not the only one who needs better people. Dinner continued in a strained rhythm. Every bite, every glance, every silence was a move in the game now. Halfway through, my father cleared his throat. Mr. Hamid will be back tomorrow. We're finalizing all estate transitions. Her dropped her spoon. It clanged against her plate like a gunshot. I thought we were still. I've made my decision, he said calmly. But enough. He didn't raise his voice, but the word cut like a blade. Her looked down. I kept eating. Quietly, gracefully, powerfully. After dinner I walked into the study. My father followed. I know you're planning something, he said. I turned to face him. I already did. It's over. He studied me. You're not the same girl I threw out last time. No. I said. That girl wanted your approval. I don't. There was a long pause. I was wrong, he said quietly. That made me pause. I was wrong to doubt you. To silence you. I let her manipulate me because she reminded me of your mother. That I didn't expect. She had that same fire. That charm. And you reminded me of myself. Quiet. Too quiet. I thought you were hiding something. But all you ever hid was pain. He walked over, sat beside me. Is there any way back from this? He asked. I didn't answer right away. Then I looked him in the eye. You can't undo what's done. But you can choose who you believe next time. He nodded slowly. And if I choose you, then don't just choose me. See me. Upstairs her was pacing in her room. I could hear the rhythm of her footsteps through the wall. Fast. Angry. Desperate. I knocked once. Then opened the door. You need to stop. She turned on me. You think you've won. I didn't want to win. I wanted to survive. But yes. Maybe I did. She threw a photo frame across the room. It shattered. Glass splintering across the floor. You've ruined everything. No. I said, stepping closer. I just refuse to be ruined again. She collapsed onto the edge of her bed, breathing heavily. I wasn't always like this, she said, almost to herself. I was a kid. I just wanted attention. And then, I didn't know how to stop. I sat across from her, for the first time seeing her as something other than a monster, maybe a broken mirror of me. Then stop now, I said. Let this be the end. She looked up, eyes glassy. Do you think they'll ever forgive me? I didn't lie. I don't know. The next morning Shireen Kala arrived. She hugged me tightly, pulling away to study my face. You look like someone who just watched a house burn down. I smiled. Maybe I did. She handed me a small envelope. What's this? A key. To your grandfather's old farmhouse in Hyderabad. He told me to give it to you only if you ever stood up for yourself. I blinked, stunned. He planned for this. He always said, one day, she'll rise. And when she does, she'll need somewhere to breathe. I drove there alone that weekend. The farmhouse was small, quiet, surrounded by wheat fields and orange trees. A faded wooden bench sat under an old neem tree. I sat there, listening to the silence. It didn't feel heavy this time. It felt earned. I called Zoya. I got the land. Holy crap. You're a landowner now. I laughed. For real this time. Yeah. But it's not about the land. Then what is it about? It's about not being the girl who's always left behind. Back home, things shifted. Slowly, quietly. Meher stopped attending family dinners. My mother began calling me into the kitchen more. My father asked my opinion on legal documents. No big announcements. Just slow, silent repair. And it was enough. Weeks later I ran into Tariq. He looked thinner, nervous, like a man whose lies had finally turned on him. I made mistakes, he said. You helped frame me. That's not a mistake. That's a choice. I regret it. I don't care. He looked away, ashamed, and I walked past him like he never mattered. Because now he didn't. I stood in front of the mirror that night, brushing my hair. Meher appeared in the doorway. You look different. I feel different. She stepped inside, hesitant. She held out a small box. What's this? A pendant. Nana Abu gave it to me once. But I think it was meant for you. I opened it, a simple silver chain with a small inscription, to the one who listens. I closed the lid, then looked at her. Thank you. She nodded, then left. Dinner, that night was quiet again. But peaceful. And I realized, maybe peace isn't loud. Maybe it's just the absence of war. I once thought justice would come in a storm. Loud, undeniable, sweeping through like a monsoon. But justice is quiet. It begins with whispers, moves in shadows, and takes root in places people overlook. And sometimes, it begins with a duplicate. You're serious. Zoya's voice buzzed through the call, half amused, half in awe. Yes. You're going to plant it? I'm going to let her find it. I corrected. In her own drawer. The one she always said was private. You're crazy. No. I said, walking down the hallway toward Meher's room. I'm careful. The copy of the will wasn't forged. It was the lawyer's certified duplicate, legally valid, and recently handed to my father for safekeeping. What Meher didn't know was that I had access to a scanned version sent by Mr. Hamid for my own records. I printed it, folded it gently, and slipped it into a tan envelope that looked just like the one she had claimed went missing. I placed it under her pile of boutique receipts and perfume bills, and then, I waited. I didn't have to wait long. The next morning, the maid, Sakina, shouted from upstairs. Herr Baji, Yikia hai? I sat at the breakfast table, sipping chai. Meher came down minutes later, pale and panting. She didn't look at me, she just walked to my father's study and shut the door behind her. My mother glanced at me. I shrugged. Probably receipts, I said. 20 minutes later, the door opened. Meher stormed past me without a word. My father stood in the doorway, holding the will. His hands trembled slightly, but his voice was steady. I want everyone in the living room. Now. We gathered around the old wooden table like strangers. My mother wrung her hands in her lap. My father stared at the envelope. Meher stood near the window, arms crossed, jaw clenched. He finally spoke. This, he said, raising the document, was found in Meher's drawer. Meher broke first. I didn't put it there. You said it was gone, he said. Stolen. It was. Someone's trying to frame me. My mother looked at her. Why would anyone do that? Meher looked at me. I met her gaze calmly. Maybe you lost track of your own lies. Don't act like you're innocent, she snapped. You could have planted it. Enough. My father's voice boomed. Silence followed. You think I don't see what's happening? He continued. You think I'm blind? He looked between us. I let this house become a courtroom. I believed what I wanted to believe. But I won't be manipulated again. He held the will up. This is valid. Mr. Hamid confirmed it. And this proves who tried to hide it. He turned to Meher. You're suspended from any legal decision-making until further notice. What? She gasped. I'm appointing your sister as executor of your grandfather's estate. The words echoed through the room like a verdict. I didn't smile. I didn't gloat. I just nodded. I'll take care of it. Later that night, Meher confronted me. You think this makes you better than me? No. I said. This just makes me free. You set me up. You set yourself up the moment you took something that wasn't yours. She stepped back. I don't even know who you are anymore. That's funny, I replied. Because I finally do. I visited the family estate office the next day. The staff greeted me differently now. Not with pity, but with respect. Miss, this is the document your grandfather wanted you to have. I opened the envelope. Blueprints. Land transfer documents. A letter from a social charity. He had planned a school, a girls' school on the Hyderabad property, named after his late wife. Education is the quietest form of revolution, he had written. I closed my eyes. He hadn't just left me property. He had left me purpose. Back home, my father stood in the garden, watering the plants. I walked over, holding the letter. He wanted to build something. He took it, read it, then nodded slowly. Then build it. You're not going to stop me. He looked at me with tired eyes. I stopped listening to the wrong daughter for too long. I won't make that mistake again. Days passed. the Hyderabad project began taking shape. I traveled back and forth, met with architects, even visited local schools to understand their needs. And with every brick, every conversation, I felt myself shedding the girl they once overlooked. One evening, I got a message from Tariq. Tariq, can we meet? I ignored it. Then another. Tariq, it's not about me her. It's about you. I owe you the truth. I hesitated, then texted back. Me? 1 hour. The old cafe near the library. No games. He looked like a shadow of himself when he arrived. Nervous, thinner, dressed down. I shouldn't have helped her, he said immediately. But I thought you'd never fight back. That makes it okay? No. It makes me a coward. I sipped my coffee. Why did you even help her? He looked away. She promised me access to your grandfather's Hyderabad network. She said, if she got control, she'd bring me in. I laughed. You sold me out for business contacts? He lowered his head. I'm sorry. You should say that to the mirror. He stood. I deserve that. Yes. And worse. He walked out, and for the first time I felt nothing. That night, Meher stood by the garden bench, staring at the stars. I joined her. She didn't look at me. You'll leave soon, won't you? I nodded. Once the school's foundation is done. She sighed. They talk about you like you're some savior now. I'm not. They think you're perfect. I'm not that either. Then what are you? I looked at her. Whole. She didn't speak again. And I didn't expect her to. Not all wounds get apologies. Some just get closure. I walked inside and found my father by the study window. You're leaving? Just for a few days. Take care of yourself. I will. He paused. Then said something I didn't expect. I'm proud of you. I swallowed hard. I waited so long to hear that. I waited too long to say it. I left the next morning for Hyderabad. I didn't look back. Because sometimes to rebuild, you have to walk away from the ruins. Hyderabad was hotter than I remembered. The air carried that dry, dusty scent that clung to your skin. I stood at the edge of the construction site, staring at the stone marker just placed, engraved with my grandmother's name. Nana Abu's vision was becoming real. The school for girls had a name now. The Zainab Legacy Foundation. I could almost hear him saying it, firm, proud, full of quiet wisdom. Let others chase noise. You build silence that speaks. Back home, things were crumbling. Not for me. For her. Zoya kept me updated in bursts of excited messages. Zoya. She's out of every legal document now. They cut her from the family account too. She tried to go to Tariq's office. He refused to see her. Then another message. Zoya. She confronted your mom in the living room. Screamed at her. Blamed her. Cracked a vase. And finally Zoya. Your dad's calling for a private family session next week. He wants closure. I read the texts with a still heart. She wasn't unraveling. She was exposed. And the world was finally seeing the girl I always knew. The next week, I returned to Karachi for the family session. I entered the house and immediately felt the weight. Like walking into a courtroom. My father sat at the head of the living room again, formal as ever. My mother sat on the side sofa, tired but composed. Meher stood by the fireplace, arms crossed. Her eyes were sunken, her posture stiff. I took my seat without saying a word. Then my father spoke. I want this to be the last time we discuss this in this house. He looked at Meher. You will no longer be involved in any financial or legal decisions. You've broken trust. You've lied. You've hurt your sister repeatedly. I said I was sorry. Meher mumbled. No. He said. You said you were sorry because you got caught. Her eyes flared. So what? You're perfect now. You think she's some saint because she stayed quiet and waited to win. No one said she's a saint. My mother spoke up, gently but clearly. But she didn't destroy anyone to be heard. Meher scoffed. Of course you take her side now. When did any of you ever take mine? I leaned forward. You don't want sides, Meher. You want obedience. She spun to face me. Oh please. Don't act like you're innocent. You're manipulative in your own way. You play the victim. And everyone laps it up. I stood, slow and calm. Then tell them the truth. Meher. Tell them what really happened to the will. Tell them what you told Tariq. Tell them what you said about Nana Abu. She froze. And for the first time, tears didn't come, just silence. My father leaned forward. Do you want to say anything? Her didn't speak. She just shook her head and sat down. That was it. No shouting. No begging. Just defeat. Afterward, I walked into my grandfather's old study. It still smelled like old paper and sandalwood. I sat at his desk and ran my fingers over the worn leather surface. So much had happened here. Lies. Betrayal. Silence. And now, truth. My mother came in, closing the door behind her. I didn't know how much you were holding in. He didn't either. I whispered. She sat across from me. Your sister is hurting. I know. But that doesn't excuse what she did. I know that too. She reached across the desk and took my hand. I'm sorry I didn't protect you. I looked at her. You don't have to say that now. But I want to. That night, her knocked on my door. I opened it. She didn't come in, just stood in the hallway, looking like a ghost of herself. They hate me, she said. No. They finally see you. She blinked. Wounded. You're not going to comfort me? I shook my head. Not this time. She nodded, almost like she expected it. Then she handed me something. A bracelet. Mine. One I'd lost years ago. I took it, she admitted. I wanted to feel like I had something of yours. I stared at it. Small. Silver. With a little cracked sapphire in the middle. You can keep it. I said. No. She whispered. It was never mine. And then she walked away. The next morning, I sat in the garden with my father. You were right, he said. Justice takes time. I didn't want justice. I replied. I just wanted to stop bleeding. He nodded. Do you hate her? I took a deep breath. No. Why not? Because I know what it's like to be invisible. And I wouldn't wish that on anyone. He looked at me. Eyes misty. You're not invisible anymore. I left that evening. Packed my suitcase. Hugged my mother. Nodded at my father. Avoided Meher's door completely. And stepped outside. The same way I had once left 4 years ago. But this time, I wasn't running. I was returning to something. As the car pulled away from the house, I looked back through the rearview mirror, not to see what I was leaving, but to remember what I survived, and what I'd become. Karachi looked different through the car window. Or maybe I did. As I passed the old bookstores, the dusty stalls, the crumbling flats with rusted balconies, I saw pieces of myself in every corner. The version of me that used to walk past those places with hunched shoulders and a heart full of apology. Now I walked differently, sat differently, even breathed differently, because I had stopped trying to be heard, and started learning how to listen to myself. The Hyderabad school project was picking up pace. Every day I received calls, blueprints, proposals. I reviewed them at night, with tired eyes and a full heart. I wasn't just building a school. I was building something I'd never had, something other girls like me might need. A place where quiet children could feel powerful. A place where truth didn't need to scream to be believed. One morning, I received a letter from the bank. It was addressed to the family estate. Inside was a copy of a transaction Meher had authorized without our knowledge, months ago, transferring funds, before she was stripped of access. I called my father immediately. I thought everything was blocked. I said. His voice on the other end was heavy. I missed this. It slipped past me. I sent him the scanned copy. What do we do? I asked. We handle it. The next day, Meher was summoned back to the house. Zoya told me what happened. Her voice trembling with disbelief. They made her sit in front of Mr. Hamid and show every transaction she made. She cried for 2 hours. Abu didn't even flinch. I could almost picture it. Meher trying again to weaponize tears. But the power was gone now. Not because she'd changed, but because I had. That night, she messaged me. Meher, you got what you wanted. Are you happy now? I stared at the text for a long time. Then replied. Meher, I wanted truth. I didn't need your downfall. That was a choice you made. No response. Just the 2 blue ticks. And silence. I sat with Shireen Kala the next morning, sipping chai under her veranda. She's unraveling, she said, watching me closely. And you? I'm rebuilding. She nodded slowly. You've always been the quiet storm in this family. No one saw it. Not even me. I smiled faintly. Quiet doesn't mean weak. Just measured. She chuckled. You sound like your grandfather. Later that day my father called me. We're restructuring the estate again, he said. I want your name on everything. You don't have to do that. I know. I want to. There was a pause. She left this morning, he added. What do you mean? She moved out. Said she needed space. Or maybe she realized she had no ground left to stand on. I didn't say anything. He did. She left you a letter. I found it tucked inside a box of my old books when I visited 2 days later. The envelope was sealed with a red wax stamp. An unnecessary flair that felt too much like me-her. I opened it anyway. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't think I've earned that. But I wanted to say something before I disappear for a while. You were never the villain I made you out to be. You were the mirror. You made me see things in myself. I spent my whole life hiding. And I hated you for that. But I hated myself more. Maybe someday I'll come back and say this out loud. But for now I'm letting you go. And I hope, somehow, you let me go too. Me-her I stared at the letter for a long time. I didn't cry. I didn't rip it up. I didn't call her. I just folded it carefully and placed it back in the box. Maybe one day I'd forgive her. But not today. Weeks passed. I returned to Hyderabad. The school walls were rising fast. Bricks laid with care. Classrooms taking shape. Every time I stepped onto that land, I felt anchored. Safe. Seen. One evening, a little girl wandered into the half-built corridor. Her father worked construction on the site. She stared at me curiously. Are you the one who's building the big school? I smiled. Yes. She hesitated. Is it for girls like me? I knelt down. It's especially for girls like you. She smiled. And something in my chest cracked open. The kind of break that comes with healing. My mother visited soon after. She walked the school grounds slowly, her hands running over the unfinished walls. He would have been proud, she said. I nodded. I think so too. We stood together beneath the neem tree. She turned to me. I never knew how strong you were, she whispered. You weren't supposed to. I replied. I didn't want to be strong. I just wanted to be believed. She took my hand and pressed something into it. It was my grandmother's ring. She would have wanted you to have it. That night, I sat alone under the stars. No anger. No grief. No revenge. Just stillness. Just peace. And maybe after everything that was the best kind of justice. The kind that lets you walk away, without needing to look back. It was the rustling of old papers that led me to it. I had returned to the family house one last time, to pack up what remained in Nana Abu's study. The estate was now legally under my name, and the Hyderabad school had just opened its gates to 50 bright-eyed girls. But this room, this was his. The scent of sandalwood lingered in the air, faint but familiar. His presence lived in the quiet here. As I reached for the last drawer in his desk, something caught my eye, tucked inside an old brittle Urdu poetry book. An envelope, faded, yellowed at the edges. And on it in that unmistakable handwriting, for the one who never asked, but always knew. My fingers trembled. I took the letter outside, sat beneath the garden's neem tree, and unfolded it slowly. Beta. If you're reading this, it means the world finally saw you. And if they didn't, I know you found a way to let them feel your silence. I saw it. I always did. You were the kind of child who didn't ask for attention. You earned it with your stillness. Your eyes. Your steadiness. But the world has always mistaken noise for strength. I knew that would hurt you one day. Me-her was loud because she was lost. You were quiet because you were watching. And I pray that one day, when all the noise fades, people will realize it's the watchers who change the world. I left you more than property. I left you responsibility. To choose truth when lies are easier. To lead without needing applause. To forgive, even when forgiveness isn't earned. I'm sorry I didn't say this in front of everyone, but legacy doesn't need an audience. It needs integrity. And you have always had that. Walk tall, Mary John. And if the world doesn't clap for you, clap for yourself. Your Nana, Fahim Zubair. I didn't cry. Not at first. But when I reached the end, when I saw how he signed it, with the same handwriting that once wrote my report cards and birthday wishes, I broke. The kind of break that heals you. Zoya arrived later that afternoon. I didn't even call her. She just showed up. As always, uninvited but needed. "Why are your eyes red?" she asked. I read a letter. From Nana Abu. Her expression softened. "He really did know you, huh? Better than anyone." We sat quietly, sipping chai beneath the neem tree, like two women who had finally outgrown the roles others wrote for them. A few weeks later, Meher emailed me. No drama. No manipulation. Just a short message. "I'm staying with an aunt in Islamabad. Doing volunteer work at a local women's shelter. I don't expect anything from you. Not even a reply. But I thought you should know. I'm learning how to be quiet too." I read it twice. Then hit reply. "I hope this silence brings you peace, not power. Take care. A." I didn't wait for her to respond. Some stories don't need sequels. The school officially opened on a cloudy Thursday morning. Children ran barefoot across the courtyard. Teachers in cotton saris prepared their lessons. The plaque at the gate read, "The Zainab Legacy Foundation. For the quiet, the brave and the forgotten." I gave the opening speech, not from a stage, not with a mic, but sitting among the children, telling them a story. A story of a girl who was always doubted, always overlooked. Until one day, she realized she didn't need anyone's permission to speak. She just had to stop whispering to herself. My mother came up to me after the speech, her eyes shimmering. "You sounded just like him. Nana Abu." She nodded. "He would have been proud." "I know." We walked together along the school corridor, her hand gripping mine tighter than she ever had when I was a child. As the sun dipped low, I walked alone to the garden at the back of the school, where we'd planted a single neem tree. Underneath it, I buried a small wooden box. Inside it, Nana Abu's letter, the bracelet Meher returned, and a photo of my younger self, smiling beside a grandfather who never needed words to say, "I believe in you." A time capsule of everything I survived, everything I became. That night, as I returned to my small Hyderabad apartment, Zoya video called me. "You know your story would make a killer book, right?" she said, half joking. "I lived it," I said. "That's enough." Still she smirked. "What would you call it?" I thought for a moment, then smiled. She tried framing me again. But this time the entire family was reborn and watching. Zoya grinned. And this time they didn't blink. I hung up, turned off the lights, and sat by the window. There was no applause, no camera, no witnesses, just me. And that was more than enough. Because I wasn't writing revenge anymore. I was writing legacy. In silence. With strength. And finally, in peace.